Hey, Mr. BJ with Very Basic Bible coming to you from my living room in my apartment. So I guess it's not my living room. My super grainy picture. That's okay. We're not going to be looking at me. We're going to be looking at a circus. We're going to watch the Bible. Come on. It sometimes is a circus. That's an idiom for all you youngins. It's a circus in here. Okay, meaning everything's crazy and stuff. So we're going to go to Ruth chapter 4, read about some Bible history. And you might be wondering, why do we look at the names of the people who were in the Bible before and go back and read those people's stories instead of studying the book of Ruth? Why do we see names and places in Ruth and we go, oh wait, this has already happened, so we go and we study that? Why would we do that? Why not study Ruth? Okay. People in Ruth, whenever they heard or said those names and places and stories, they knew them very well. They already knew them. It's an oral culture. You pass down stuff to your kids orally. I'm getting a little ahead of myself here. Share screen. There we go. Make my ugly mug a little bigger. That good? Okay. Looks less grainy. Yeah. So we're in chapters 4, actually one chapter 4. Go down to the bottom, right down here. Okay. All those at the gate, including the elders, said, we do. All those at the gate, including the elders, said, we do. May the Lord make this woman, Ruth, come into your, that's Boaz. May God make Ruth come into Boaz's house like Rachel and Leah, who between them built up the house of Israel. Prosper in Ephrathah, bestow a name in Bethlehem. They live in Ephrathah of Bethlehem. They live in Bethlehem Ephrathah. So prosper in this city. You're living in the city, prosper there. Build it up a name. By having kids, you build up a name there, right? Actually, yeah, let's look at that real quick. Okay, yeah. Oh, no. Back to my. Okay. We're gonna come back to that. So we went Bible study or two ago. We looked, or 3 or 4. I don't know. We looked at the story of Rachel and Leah. Okay. If we have no idea who Rachel and Leah are, and we read this, then we're just going to pass right over it. But more importantly, why did the people themselves say, may the Lord? Why did they use Rachel and Leah? All those at the gate and the elders, they use Rachel and Leah as an example. I live in Texas. Remember the Alamo? It was a big thing. We learned about it in school almost every year in history class. We had world history one year. We didn't learn about the Alamo. But we learned about it a lot in school. And sometimes we see it on TV. I live only an hour and a half away from the Alamo. I'll go to the Alamo. Well, like it's crazy. I just hear the Alamo this, Alamo that. There was a Davy Crockett and they fought off the Spanish. They held them off, but then they all died basically. And then after that, Texas won their freedom. Yay! So the Alamo is it's like a last stand thing where they lose, but then they end up winning later. And so it's like, yay for Texas. Yeah, I'm sure you got one in your state or your country. One day, I'm talking to a friend about the Alamo. I'm a truck driver. Not right now. I was a truck driver. Had a truck driver trainer who I was riding with, being trained. Lives in Ohio. The guy lives in Ohio. That's not Texas. That's not the Alamo. He's maybe seen movies of the Alamo. They've had some movies. They've had some. Disney did like Davy Crockett and the Alamo. Um, um, Alamo's been talked about on movies and stuff. Maybe, possibly in American history, there was this thing in Texas. When the Spanish tried to come up and take the nation or whatever. And there's this Alamo and this general guy Sam Houston. They fought it off. So Texas was its own country, and maybe you've heard about that in American history. Okay, this guy in Ohio, I mentioned something about the Alamo being near McDonald's. He was confused. He might have thought I was joking. Why? He doesn't know about the Alamo. What does he know about? He knows that it's kind of in the middle of the country, side surrounded by grass and fields. That's true, it was. But I wasn't talking about the past. I was talking about the present. Okay. He didn't know about it. So I explained to him, the Alamo is in San Antonio. It's not in a big grassy field anymore like it used to be. It's surrounded by hotels, restaurants, tourist buildings, all concrete all around. Now you can go inside the Alamo and take tours. Is this weird? This is strange. On movies, if you've not seen Alamo movies, it's always in it's a big building, like a fort, like made of like stone and stuff. There's no roof. They had sleeping quarters, restrooms. They had cows and chickens inside there. Okay, and it's all surrounded by grass. And when you watch the movie, the Spanish army, huge, they march up to it in big grassy fields. That's what my truck driver trainer thought. So I had to explain to him, no, today the Alamo surrounded by a city. When you see it on the movies, you're seeing a replica of the Alamo built elsewhere in the country. Yeah. Well, when we look at the Bible here, they're talking about today, may you be like the elders, Rachel and Leah. And I'm like, okay, Rachel and Leah. Yeah. I don't know. They're just people in the Bible. I'm like the guy from Ohio. I don't know about it. So we go and we look at the story in the past. Now the Alamo, I was explaining to him what it's like in the present. But in the Bible here, we go and we look at the story of Rachel and Leah in the past. Because I'm from Ohio and don't know about the Alamo. When I'm reading the Bible, I read Rachel and Leah, and I'm from the present, and I don't know about the past story of Rachel and Leah. Got to tell them about it. Got to explain it. We want to get ourselves in the mindset of the people in the Bible. What were those at the gate, including the elders? What were they thinking? We can't know exactly entirely 100% what they were thinking, but we can know that they knew the story, or at least the basic story of Rachel and Leah. So we go back and we learn the basic story of Rachel and Leah. Then we come back and read this, and we're not as confused. We're more understand it from the point of view of all those at the gate, including the elders. We understand it from the point of view. My friend, now, if he ever goes to San Antonio, if he visits from Ohio, he goes to San Antonio, he knows what to expect when he goes to the Alamo. Oh, all the buildings and all the concrete. And what is this? But then he knows when he goes inside, oh, it's still the same. So he knows. We want to get ourselves into the Bible. That's also why I mentioned this. Prosper an effort to bestow a name in Bethlehem. Why is that important to them? And we'll come back to that. Sorry, I'm coughing so much. We'll come back to that. But why do I mention all this about Rachel and Leah in the past? Why did we talk about it? Okay. With the offspring, the Lord will give you, Boaz, from this young woman, Ruth. So up here, let's see. Boaz went to the gate and took a seat there. Along came the other Redeemer whom Boaz had spoken of. Boaz called him by name, come and sit here. So the Redeemer came and sat down. Boaz picked out 10 of the elders. There we go. The elders who were talking about of the town, asked them to sit nearby. The gate was a very busy place, so there were a lot of other people there probably. Boaz said to the Redeemer, Naomi has come back from the plateau of Moab, is putting up for sale the piece of land that belonged to our kinsman Elimelech. Naomi owns a piece of land. She's putting it up for sale. So Boaz says, so I thought I would inform you before those here present, the people at the gate, the elders, including the elders of my people, purchase the field, act as a redeemer. Elimelech, Boaz is a redeemer, but this other guy is a closer redeemer. If you don't want to do it, tell me so I may know, for no one has the right of redemption prior to yours. Mine is next. He answered, the other guy, the redeemer, I will act as redeemer. Boaz continued, when you acquire the field from Naomi, when you act as redeemer and you acquire the field from Naomi, you also acquire responsibility for Ruth the Moabite, the widow of the late heir, to raise up a family for the deceased on his estate. Okay, Mr. Redeemer, you get the land from Naomi, but you also got to get Ruth the Moabite, raise up kids for Ruth the Moabite's husband. They won't be your kids, they'll be his kids. And guess who gets the land in the year of Jubilee? His kids, not you. So basically, I want you to be a redeemer, a good person. You're going to buy the land, take care of it, have a kid for it. So then, and every 50 years in the year of Jubilee, the kid can take it and it will continue in his family line. You, redeemer, would just be doing a good deed. You'd be raising up the kid, taking care of the land, making sure the land stays in their family. Selfless act. The redeemer replied, I cannot exercise my right of redemption, for that would endanger my own estate. You do it in my place, for I cannot. The redeemer is afraid, hey, wait, I start going having kids and giving them this land that I purchased. That might, what about my estate? That might mess me up. That might jeopardize that throws my whole dynamic. What if I'm not able to provide a youth for my land? So the redeemer's like, sorry, can't do it. I don't want to. Can't do the selfless act. Now, is he really being mean, evil, wicked? And I don't want to be so, maybe not. We're not sure. They don't give his name. You know, they often give people names and then they don't whenever people in the Bible don't get names when they don't matter in the story, I think. So this guy doesn't get a name. I don't know. It's just trying to show. I'm not sure. Not because I'm not smart enough, but the text doesn't really tell us. And I can't think of other places in this story right here. All this doesn't tell us why he's not named. It's just a story. I don't recall other Bible stories later, Bible passages explaining this is why the Redeemer in Ruth doesn't have a name. And I can't really think of other places, other stories where somebody doesn't have a name and like, let's go figure it out. Maybe that's something good to look up someday. But now it used to be a custom in Israel that to make a binding contract of redemption of exchange, one party would take off a sandal and give it to the other. Today, we sign a contract. We say, here you go. Back then, they took off a sandal. This was a form of attestation. This was the method of legalizing transactions in Israel. Okay. So the other redeemer and saying to Boaz, acquire for yourself, drew off his sandal. Boaz then said to the elders and all the people, you are witnesses today that I have acquired, the elders and all the people. I have acquired Naomi and all that belongs, all the holdings of Elimelech, Chilion, and Mahlon. The land belongs to Elimelech. He would have passed it on to Chilion and or Mahlon, but they both died. Elimelech passed away, then they passed away. Then Naomi came back from Moab. So Boaz says, I also acquire along with this land, because I'm related to Elimelech, so I can act as a redeemer. I can acquire the land. I also acquire Ruth the Moabite. the widow of Mahlon as my wife in order to raise up a family for her late husband on his estate. Boaz already has fields and such. We saw that earlier. He's got men working his field. Ruth comes to work in his field. Does that mean so Boaz got nothing to lose, right? We think Boaz got nothing to lose. He probably already got kids working on his estate. Does he? Actually doesn't tell us that. Maybe not. Maybe Boaz could jeopardize his. We don't know. We're not told. Maybe Boaz is doing something selfless. Maybe not. Either way, he is taking her in to take care of her, to provide her an heir. He is doing a good service to her. All right, I also acquired Ruth the Moabite, the widow of Mahlon, as my wife in order to raise up a family for her late husband on his estate, so that the name of the deceased may not perish from his people and place. Do you, the elders and all the people, do you witness this today? All those at the gate, including the elders, okay. Here we go. Do you witness this today? We do. Make the Lord. We do. Make the Lord. That's exactly how they said it. Make the Lord. May. I'm being so silly. Anyway. We do. May the Lord make this woman come into your house like Rachel and Leah, who between them built up the house of Israel. They know the story. They know Rachel and Leah had tons of kids and built up the house of Israel, right? This whole thing is not about the morality of Rachel and Leah. It's not about if the story of Rachel and Leah was correct or incorrect. Rachel and Leah, it's about kids. All this up here, Boaz saying, hey, look, when you get the land, you got to raise up an heir. So Elimelech and Mahlon and Chilion's name don't disappear. You got to raise up an heir, give them land. What happens with Rachel and Leah? They have babies with Jacob / Israel. His name is also Israel. They have babies with them. And they raise up people on the land God gave them. So we're not talking about the morality, because some of it was a little sketchy. We're not talking about if they went around about it right. Jacob was kind of like, I want this lady. And then, not her ugly sister. I want Rachel, who's beautiful, not Leah, she's ugly. Then Rachel then Jacob gets tricked into marrying Leah. Then he's got to be with Rachel. Then he's got 2 wives. Is that good? He's got some concubines, mistresses, baby, Rachel says, I can't have a baby. Take my maidservant, have a baby with her. What in the world? They're getting mad at each other. The sisters are. The sons do all sorts of crazy things. Is this the right way to go about it? No. But what happened? They raised up. I'm not saying that this was right, that they did it right. That God did it this way. If he wants to do it this way, who am I to naysay? They raised up the 12 tribes of Israel that came from Rachel and Leah's body and the 2 concubines. What were their names? Bilda and Bill. Let's go see Genesis 26, 33. Well, that sounds right, but I think it's too early. Go. Now there's a famine, Abraham and Isaac. Okay, so Abraham, then Isaac, then Jacob. So we got to go. Let's go to 33. Bilhah. Okay, Esau arriving. Oh, okay. So I'm too late now, because Esau comes. Jacob looks up and sees Esau coming. Look, so he divided the children among Leah, Rachel, and the maidservants. The children. So they've already had the children. So let's go back and go back on more. We could probably go back a few. Okay. Oh, hey, when Rachel saw she was not bearing any children for Jacob. All right. When Laban heard the news, Laban, you are indeed my flesh and blood. All right. Right here. Laban, there we go. Bilhah. Okay. Okay. When the Lord saw, okay, Jacob slept with Rachel as well. So he slept with Leah. Jacob slept with Leah and Rachel. Okay. When the Lord saw that Leah was unloved, he opened her womb. Leah conceived and gave birth. Once again, she conceived and gave birth once more, but then she stopped having children. What's the name of those concubines? When Rachel saw she was not bearing any children for Jacob, she envied her sister. That's no good. Give me children or I will die, she said to Jacob. Jacob became angry with Rachel and said, am I the place of God who has withheld children from you? Man, fighting over like, I can't have kids. Okay. Then she said, here's my maidservant Bilhah. Sleep with her that she may bear children for me. Would God have wanted it this way? Not necessarily. Does God use our mistakes? Yes. God doesn't want the family fighting. God doesn't, at least today, approve of multiple wives, especially, hey, go sleep with my maidservant. What is that? Sex is very sacred. But hey, it is about the family. They're wondering about the family. Are they? She seems jealous for her sister. This is weird. Bilhah conceived, and Rachel said, God has vindicated me. Again, Rachel's servant Bilhah conceived again, man, multiple times. Oh, Zilpah. When Leah saw she had stopped having children, she gave her servant Zilpah. So Rachel, Leah, Bilhah, and Zilpah. But over here, all we hear about is, where's it at? Rachel and Leah. So see, they're building a house. That's a lot of kids. They've already had a lot of kids. Had 4 kids with Rachel, Leah, to my knowledge. 2 or 3 with Rachel's concubine. Some with Leah's concubine. Eventually, Rachel actually has I think she has a daughter and then a son. I think the one daughter was from Rachel, which is kind of cool. Let's see. God is endowed with a good dowry. The dowry is a son, I guess. Oh. Let's see. Got her and she conceived a son. Okay. Jacob returned in the field. Leah went out to meet him and said, you will enter me because I have hired you from my reward. I bought you. You have to sleep with me tonight. Oh my goodness. Traded some mandrakes. Like, hey, Rachel, my son's got mandrakes. I'll sleep with. Would they in Ruth's day have been thinking of all this? They would have known the basic story. And what would they have known? They're building up a family. That's what they'd have known. What does that's the part that seems important here. Why do I think that? Because they built up the entire family from scratch. Could have started with Abraham going to Isaac, one kid. Isaac then bears Jacob. Jacob bears Judah and the 11 other kids. That's the whole tribe of Israel. That's whenever they become a big family, right? Israel, his name is Jacob. God changes it to Israel. The nation of Israel is named after, it's not called the nation of Abraham, not called the nation of Isaac. It's called the nation of Israel. They decided to go with Israel. That's just what happens, It's weird in history how this stuff changes. Our cat has a nickname, Barnstormer. What the heck? Barnstormer? Barnacle, we call him. Well, his name is Barney. Why is his name Barney? It's from Barnabas. Why is his name Barnabas? We had another cat named Saul for King Saul in the Old Testament who went crazy. My wife said she saw our little cat when he was a kitten still. He was like a piece of paper, like going after it. And she thought he's a mighty warrior. Oh, like King Saul in the Old Testament, because he's also kind of crazy. So I named him Saul. Well, then we get this other cat. We name him Barnabas because in the New Testament, Paul's original name was Saul. So Saul, right? So now we got Saul and Barnabas, like in the New Testament. But wait, I thought Saul was for the king of the Old Testament. He is. But now we're naming him Barnabas and Saul for the New Testament. Wait. So we get from, why did I just tell you that story? See how convoluted that is? And that's just our pets' nicknames. We'll go from Barnstormer back to Barnabas, back to Saul, who's not even the right Saul. They are all, but what's a common thread? They're from the Bible. We don't name all our pets after Bible name. I think those are the only two, in fact. Oh no, there was Titus. We had Titus. It's our pet rat from Petco. Yeah. Yeah. So you see how convoluted it is. But there is one theme. They were both from the Bible, right? So here, you see how convoluted this is. Why Rachel and Leah? Why call it Israel? Why not call it Abraham or whatever? We see one theme. What's the one theme? Ruth needs a kid to pass on the name and make sure the name of Elimelech and Mahlon and Chilion don't die. Abraham was promised a great nation by God. They knew this. They knew from Abraham went to Isaac, and Isaac went to Jacob, and Jacob had all these kids. They knew they were a great nation. They knew that the nation didn't have any land yet, but it went down to Egypt. They were beat up in slavery eventually. Around 400 years later, God raises up Moses, leads them out of the wilderness. They eventually get into the promised land and get there. So how does it start? Jacob starts with Abraham, goes to Isaac, but then Jacob has the 12 tribes. So right here, hey, Jacob raised up 12 tribes, which turned into a great nation. May your house be like Rachel and Leah, who between them built up the house of Jacob or Israel. Yeah. Excuse me. I just noticed something. Prosper in Ephrathah, bestow a name in Israel. Okay, now look at this. May you prosper in Ephrathah and become famous in Israel. So I was talking about the name, but over here, be famous in Israel, and your name well known in Israel. Okay, be famous in Israel, become famous in Israel, be renowned in Bethlehem. Oh, I said Israel, Bethlehem. Fame. Okay, so the only one with name is the NABRE. I assume then that the thing I was thinking about with name isn't there. Just to explain it real quick. God often says, I will place my name in this city. They're like, oh, okay, so it's the God of this. And this is and David talks about the city of David, my servant, where I put his name. Where did he put his name? In Jerusalem. And where does God put his name? In Jerusalem. You know, there's often places like we name this place after this person, and it's important for that reason. That's what I was thinking. They used names as important. You know, we go to college. I was going to a college, and all these names had buildings like the John Smith building and the Dan Russellford building and the Ricky Caldwell building, Richard Caldwell. And I was like, why do they got names of people? Oh, well, Richard Caldwell was a famous chemistry professor. That's why the chemistry building is called the Richard Caldwell building. Oh, okay. So you name places after people. Houston, I believe, in Texas, was named after General Sam Houston, part of the Alamo. And you thought you were going to learn Bible today. So you name places, you know, what there's a up around New York, New Hampshire, New Jersey, in the United States. Why do they call them that? Because they came from England. Back in England, there were places called York, Hampshire, and Jersey. They sail across the ocean. They found the United States, New York, New Hampshire, New Jersey. You just call places names of old places and old people. That's just a common practice. So I figured it was here, but it's not, because just may you become famous. Yay, become famous. Famous? That's kind of weird. The Bible wants people to be famous. I don't know. Okay. With the offspring the Lord will give you from this woman, just like they got it from Jacob, gave children to Rachel and Leah. Gave Jacob / Israel got children from Rachel and Leah. With the offspring the Lord will give you from this woman. Yeah, this woman is going to give offspring. Okay. May your house become like the house of Perez, whom Tamar bore to Judah. Oh, wait, what's that? Contains Genesis 38 contains a story about Tamar similar to Ruth in Levirate marriage. That's true. Judah, under less laudable circumstances, fulfills the same role as Boaz will. The same role that Boaz will fulfill was fulfilled by Judah. And Perez, the son of Judah and Tamar, perpetuates the line. Perez perpetuates the line from Judah. And Tamar, two non-Israelite women. Tamar is not an Israelite. Ruth is not an Israelite. Pretty cool, huh? We'll go read the story. Why not? 38 minutes in. I'm looking, we're about 35 minutes into our recording. We usually record for an hour and 15 minutes. Let's go look at the story of Perez and Tamar. Why? Because when they said it, they would have known the story. They would have known it. When we say it, we don't necessarily know it. Last time, or a few Bible studies ago, I was looking at stuff in the New Testament, and I said, look, Ruth and her audience, Boaz and all those people, they wouldn't have thought about this. But we can think about it that way today. So I was kind of getting into some theology. I was kind of getting into what the New Testament thinks about it. Ruth and Boaz and Naomi and all them, the gates and the people at the elders, people at the gates, they wouldn't have known the stuff in the New Testament. But I was talking about it just to relate it. Now, we don't know about the stuff in the Old Testament, but they would have. They knew about it. We don't. Let's go learn about it. All right. Here we go. Genesis 38. Because that's what the footnote said, remember? So Genesis 38. First, let's look at what I look at. 33 was here, 31. Okay, Jacob saw Laban's face. So Jacob heard Laban's sons were complaining. Okay. Laban is the uncle which gave Rachel and Leah to Laban. Yeah. So Jacob married his cousins. Laban gave his daughters to Jacob. Laban was Jacob's uncle. Okay, but they're like second, third, fourth cousins, 3-4 times removed, All right. There's Jacob fixing to meet Esau, who Jacob and Esau were twin brothers, and they had a falling out. Now they're fixing to meet each other again. Okay. Dinah. Oh, this is a story we talked about last time. Dinah was the one daughter, and it seemed like it's the daughter of Zilpah, it seemed. Go back in 34. Hey, I got an easier. Maybe we'll look at Judah and Tamar. Dinah, someone in the kitchen, I know. That's a song. I want to say I gotta leave a song. Okay. All right. The Dinah incident, but afterwards she bore a daughter, called her name Dinah. Okay, full chapter 30:21. Now Reuben, what she said is a small. Rachel said, "Lie tonight." When Jacob came out of the field in the evening, Leah went out to meet him. You must come into me, for I've had you. So he lays with Leah. God listened to Leah. She conceived and bore Jacob a fifth son. She called his name Issachar. Leah conceived again and bore a sixth son. Leah said, God is good. She called him named Zebulun. Afterwards, Leah, she bore a daughter and called her name Dinah. So the daughter was Leah's. Okay, so Leah. Possibly the most important son, not in the long range necessarily, but Judah wasn't probably in the long range, but possibly the most important son, Joseph, at least in the short range. God remembered Rachel. God listened to Rachel and opened her womb. She conceived and bore a son. God has taken away my reproach. She called his name Joseph. Okay. So Rachel bears the possibly most important and youngest to date son. Later, Rachel has another son named Benjamin. So Dinah, daughter of Rachel there. I'm sorry. Leah said God, she also, and afterward, Leah bore a daughter, called her name Dinah. So Leah is the mother of Dinah. Dinah, daughter of Leah. Are we going to remember this? My goodness. Did they know all this back in Ruth? Oh, this isn't Ruth. Whatever. Maybe not. Their stuff was passed down by oral tradition. They told stories. Stories can get muddled. That happens sometimes in the New Testament and the Old Testament. We've already read one case of that with the whole sandal thing. We went and looked at that. Anyway, here we go. Okay. So there's the Dinah incident. So we read about they're in a country with other people. The son of the country rapes or entices Dinah to sleep with him. Then they're like, okay, if you other people have Shechem, right? Yeah, Shechem here. If your other people get circumcised, we'll let Dinah be with your son, who either raped or enticed the daughter Dinah to sleep with him. We'll let you have Dinah, and we'll live with you. You can be with us. Well, instead, right after they'd circumcised themselves, they went in and killed them all. Levi and who was it? Yeah, they swallowed him. They took their okay. On the third day, Levi and Simeon, brothers of Dinah. That's why. So I guess Leah, two of Leah's sons were Simeon and Levi, I guess. So Simeon and Levi were like, we're not having this. This guy took advantage of our daughter. Each took a sword, advanced against the unsuspecting city, massacred all the males. Okay, we're trying to look, our sister's honor. Jacob wasn't very happy with that. Okay, not at all. Okay, now God said to Jacob, go settle in Bethel, settle there and build an altar. So Jacob went, get rid of the foreign gods among you. Of course, get rid of them. You shouldn't have them. You've been following God this whole time. Jacob and all the people arrived at Luz in the land of Canaan. Okay, so they're in Canaan. Deborah, Rebecca's nurse, died. No good. She was buried in the okay. God appeared to Jacob again in blood. Man. Oh, hey, we've been talking about Jacob / Israel. God said to him, your name is Jacob. You will no longer be named Jacob, but Israel will be your name. So he was named Israel. Pretty cool. I thought that happened when they were wrestling with Esau. Let me go look at that real quick. This hasn't been much about Ruth, has it? We've been talking about the Alamo and stuff and about these stories in the Old Testament. But hey, the people would have known this. Oral tradition, they talk about it. Would they have known it perfectly, like I said? Probably not. Do I know it perfectly? I keep saying this daughter, and he's the son of him and her, and I keep getting stuff mixed up. Hey, I'm like them. They sometimes get it mixed up. Jacob looked up and saw Esau coming. Okay. Accept a gift. No. Where's the All right, one more then. Jacob sent messengers ahead to his brother Esau. We found your brother Esau. He is now coming to meet you, and 400 men with him. Jacob was very much frightened, and his anxiety, he's like, uh-oh. He's got kids and cattle and farmers. Esau coming, 400 men. He thinks Esau is going to come and beat him down. All right, let's keep going. All right. After he got them and brought them across the wadi and brought them over what belonged to him, Jacob was left there alone. Left there alone. Jacob sends all his kids over. Okay. Look at this. Where's it at? He divided the people who were with him into two camps. If Esau should attack one camp, he reasoned, the remaining camp may still escape. Jacob prays to God, I am unworthy of all the kindness. Save me from the hand of my brother Esau. All right. After passing the night, Jacob selected what he had. He gave him a bunch of, look at that, 200 she goats, 20 he goats, giving him a bunch of, going to give Esau a bunch of presents. Some camels, some cows. Yeah. He put these animals together. Okay. When you meet my brother Esau, to whom do these belong? Where are you going? Tell him you're serving Jacob. So he's trying to flatter Esau. So he splits up the family and all the people into two. Then he says, hey, send these gifts ahead of you, okay? That night, however, Jacob arose, took his 2 wives with his 2 maidservants and his 11 children and crossed after he got them and brought them across the wadi. So he sends them across the wadi, which is like a small river, okay? The ford of the Jabbok is like a body of water, okay? So he takes them across. All his stuff, his kids, all those presents, all those goats and camels and flocks and herds. Were there camels? I'm not sure. All those go across. So he can be like, this is a gift to you. Yeah, gift of goats and herds. To us, what? I don't want a goat and herd. Give me a PlayStation. Give me a new car. Give me some money. Goats and herds, baby. Yeah. Remember, wealthy people back then, they weren't wealthy because they just had money in the bank. There were no such things as banks. They were wealthy because they had lots of flocks and herds. Okay. Kind of strange to us, but hey, that's the way it was back then. They're farmers. That's all they do. Everybody today, not kids, okay. Everybody today can drive a car. Okay, just everybody. Hey, go to the store. Hey, go do this. Hey, go do that. Hey, drive to the store, drive back home. Normal, everyday stuff for us. For them, they'd be like, y'all are weird. Y'all are strange. Okay, normal everyday stuff to them. Here's some goats. Here's some flocks. Here's some herds. Yeah, just normal everyday stuff. All right. Jacob was left there alone. He sends everybody across to go meet Esau. Jacob's all by himself. And then a man wrestled with him until the break of dawn. A man. When the man saw, he wrestled with him. This comes out of nowhere. What in the world? It's just like, huh? Like he's all alone and the man starts wrestling. Where'd this man come from? What the? Can Jacob wrestle? I guess so. He's wrestling. Is he wrestling? Is that what it mean? Like grapple? Like you're beating each other down, WWF style, or you're like rolling around on the ground, holding each other, pushing each other. Wrestle. When the man, whoever this person is, does Jacob think that Esau got there early? Like, what if it was Esau? Oh no, it's a man. When the man saw that he could not prevail over Jacob, the man struck Jacob's hip. Is that illegal in wrestling? At its socket, so that Jacob's socket was dislocated as he wrestled with him. The man then said, let me go, for it is daybreak. But Jacob said, I will not let you go unless you bless me. So the man wants to go, and Jacob's like, no, I'm not letting you go unless you bless me. The greater blesses the lesser. That's what we're told. The book of Hebrews told us the greater blesses the lesser. Okay, now Jacob's not thinking, well, in the book of Hebrews, the greater blesses the lesser. If this guy's greater than me, he did knock my hip out. So according to the book of Hebrews, Jacob doesn't know the book of Hebrews, but the book of Hebrews is teaching us what the Old Testament was like. In the Old Testament, the greater always did bless the lesser. That's just what happened. Jacob must know or think that whoever this man is greater than him. He says, give me a blessing. Who can give you a blessing? Like today we say, I bless you, or God bless you, or whatever, make his face to shine upon you, give you his blessings. No, back then blessings were like almost mystical things. Blessings and cursings, right? They're kind of supernatural a lot of times. Jacob's like, hey, I want something for real. not just some platitude. Oh, I bless you, my son. No. Like it's going to affect the change. Jacob gives blessings to his sons later, and they're like prophecies of what his sons will do and how they will live. Ruth and Boaz and all their people, getting back to that story, they would have lived in this kind of world. So all this stuff I'm talking about, it's like, BJ, when we're going to get back to Ruth and Boaz, all this stuff I'm talking about, flocks and herds, multiple wives and maid servants, maybe not random men wrestling, but blessings that are like blessings and cursings that are kind of supernatural. All this stuff, the history, Dinah and the kids, the people listening to Ruth and Boaz in the story of Ruth, they would have had all this in their mind. At this exact moment, would they have been thinking of blessing and cursings? Maybe they'd have thought, hey, this is a blessing from God. They'd have looked at it supernaturally, probably, that, hey, God is going to give Ruth a son. May Ruth have many sons like Rachel and Leah had, like Judah and Tamar, which we haven't gotten there yet, to Judah and Tamar. But they would have been surrounded by flocks and herds, right? If somebody was rich, like Boaz was a wealthy man, he would have had flocks and herds. This is the world they lived in. We want to get ourselves back into their world. So it's good. It's good to be talking about this stuff. Bible study isn't, let's read a sentence and grammatically dissect it. We need to understand what they were going through. Doing this weird thing with my teeth here. We need to understand what they were going through, but what was going through them, what was going through their mind, what were they surrounded with, what was normal for them versus us. We want to get ourselves into their mindsets. Look at a little dark there, don't I? There we go. If I do that, oh, now you see the light, right there. Okay, no. Okay. So this is good that we're talking about this, right? I think so. The man said, so Jacob's like, hey, you're going to bless me, right? Is this an ordinary man? If Jacob's asked for a blessing, it's a greater man than Jacob. How does Jacob know that? Then the man, still just a man. The man said, you shall no longer be named Jacob, but Israel. Wait, I thought God changed his name in the next one. There's a story about David. Samuel comes and anoints David king. King Saul is still king. King Saul is still king for a long time. Some men follow David, but King Saul is king. Eventually, King Saul dies. Some people make David king, but they also try to make some of Saul's sons king. I mean, Saul was a king. His son should be king. They try to make some of his sons king. Eventually, they have an official thing for David, but they also try to make some of Saul's sons kings. They go along. Saul's family eventually ends up going away, dying off. Then they have an official ceremony where David is the king. He was made king, then made king again, then the official ceremony. That's weird, isn't it? So, sometimes that happens. My mom gave us names while we were in the womb. Okay. She said, when I was like, they were trying to figure out what my name would be. Then I was born. 3 days later, my mom's dad died. His name was Robert Jackson Owen. Or Owens. So she said, I'm going to name him Robert Jackson. That's going to be his name. My real name, Robert Jackson. Allen, for my dad's name, So I was a baby. Then I was named BJ. Then later, it went on the official birth certificate. Then later, I was christened in the Catholic Church, and I got my name Robert Jackson again. It's like, wait, multiple times? Yeah, that kind of stuff happens. So here, while he's wrestling, the man said, you shall no longer be named Jacob, but Israel, because you have contended with divine and human beings and have prevailed. How come this man is allowed to change Jacob's name? Jacob's like, hey, bless me. And then Jacob doesn't argue when he changes his name. Well, let me see. Jacob then asked him, please tell me your name. The man answered, why do you ask my name? With that, the man blessed him. Jacob named the place Peniel, comma, open parentheses, open quotation marks, because I have seen God face to face. He said, yet my life has been spared. What does Peniel mean? Let's see. A variant of the word Penuel, the name of a town, the name is explained as meaning the face of God. Peniel, E-L, maybe P-E-N-I. Has something to do with the face in Hebrew. And L, God, E-L is for God. Jacob thinks he saw God in this place face to face. At sunrise, as he left Peniel, Jacob limped along because of his hip. Yeah. So Jacob thinks he's seen the face of God. Jacob is wrestling with the man. Jacob says, give me a blessing. Then Jacob asked for his name. Right? He answered, why do you ask for my name? With that, the man blesses him. Jacob names the place Peniel because I've seen the face of God. Yet my life has been spared. Oh, here, certainly I have seen the face, certainly I have seen God face to face and have survived. Jacob thinks that man is God. God came down in human form, quote unquote, human form, to Abraham. There were three men. They're walking along. Abraham says, hey, come and stay at my place. One of the men starts talking. Abraham goes and tells his wife, hey, go fix some bread, fix a cow, cook him some good food. Then one of those three men starts talking to Abraham and says, I'm going to come this time next year. Sarah's going to have a son. Wait a minute. God's the one who told Abraham you'd have a son. Then the men, they eat and stuff, they leave. And it says two of the men went down to Sodom and Gomorrah, but Abraham walked along with Yahweh, the Lord. Then Abraham and God start having a conversation. I've never seen God in human form. Now, Jesus and God is God literally as a human, takes on the literal human. Was that the same as whenever Jacob was walking along talking to God, fixing a meal for him? I'm not sure. Is that the same here? Is this like some people's a pre-incarnate Jesus? Never really tells us that. The Bible nowhere tells us that. The Bible doesn't explain to it, but it does say that some people met God as if he was a human, right here. Some people go, oh, it was an angel because he couldn't have seen God and the angel represented God. Now, often when someone is a messenger, ambassador for somebody else, they represent that person as if they are that person. Jesus said to his apostles, I was sent by my Father. Now, no, my Father sent me. Now I am sending you. When people persecute you, my apostles, they're persecuting me. Okay, there's a story where a king of Israel, there's several stories like this, but a king of Israel sends a servant. The servant talks to the people. The people beat him up. They send him back. Then it's told, you beat up the king. No, they beat up the king's servant. They beat up the king. Right? The person represents. So some people are like, hey, this is just an angel. Jacob evidently didn't see God. He saw the angel who represents God, but he did say, I see God face to face. And Hosea, it says that Jacob wrestled. What was it? It's in Hosea. And I know it's as he wrestled with him. Hosea 12:5. Let's go look at that. Okay. Hosea 12:5. Wait. Hosea 12:5. That is the Lord God of hosts. The Lord is his memorable name. Now I know in Hosea it talks about Jacob wrestling with him. Oh, hey, okay. The Lord also brings a charge against Judah and will punish Jacob according to his ways. He's going to punish him. He's going to bring a charge against him. Judah. Okay, so Abraham, Isaac, Jacob. Jacob has 12 sons. The line passes through Judah. David, King David, he's eventually the king of Judah. So that's why it mentions Judah and Jacob. The Lord brings a charge against Judah, will punish Jacob according to his ways. Parallel. According to his deeds, God will recompense him. Because you've done something bad, Jacob / and Judah, because y'all, okay, look, your nation, y'all done something bad, your family, I'm going to recompense you according to your ways. Jacob took his brother by the heel in the womb. Now we know Judah didn't do that. That didn't happen. But there's a famous story of Jacob and Esau, who we were just talking about. When they're fighting in the womb, when they're in Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Rebecca. When they're in Rebecca's womb, Rebecca's Isaac's wife. They're fighting and grasping. Then whenever they come out, Jacob reaches out, they're twins, reaches his little hand out and tries to grab Esau's heel. He took his brother by the heel in the womb. So that's definitely Jacob. Jacob took his brother womb. And in his strength, he struggled with God. He did? When? Yes, he struggled with the angel and prevailed. When was that? We assume that's when he wrestled. Is it? Struggled? Maybe, maybe not. He wept and sought favor for him. He found him at Bethel. He did. Jacob did meet God at Bethel, and there spoke to us, right? Okay. So God did all that for Jacob, yet Jacob's dumb and stupid, and God has to punish them. Man, all that. Jacob sees, God and stuff. He struggled with an angel and prevails. Is that commentary on this? The NABRE, the Catholic Bible, seems to think that Hosea 12:5, that Hosea 12 is talking about this incident. I don't know. I'm not sure. I've already forgot what we were talking about. Back to Ruth. So Judah, Tamar. Oh, was that the name? Maybe it was the name. I'm sorry, guys. I forgot already. I'm so absent-minded. It's been an hour. We'll go ahead and go back to Ruth, since that's what the Bible stays over anyway. Ruth. Okay. All the history we just talked about, they would have known a lot of that. Would they have been able to go back on ancient scrolls and read it? No. They didn't necessarily have it yet written down. They might have had it chiseled on stone tablets. If so, they were kept at the temple or at the tabernacle. There's no temple in Ruth's day yet. They'd have been kept under lock and key, literal lock and key. I'm not sure they have locks. It'd have been protected. Very few people would have had it. Okay, so they'd have been passing it on orally. They'd have been telling their kids about that. There's a place in Deuteronomy. Tell your kids this stuff all the time, Teach it to your kids as they go out, as they come in, when they're asleep, when they're awake, when they're eating, all the time. Just talk to your kids about it. Okay. So they would have known this stuff. So we just went through it real quick. Become like the house of Perez, whom Tamar bore Judah. They probably knew that story, which we haven't read yet. We'll read it next time. So now we know, we understand. I mean, we're trying to get into their mindset of what they do and don't know. Look at this. We'll read about Perez, Judah, and Tamar next time, but yes. Boaz took Ruth, so Boaz married Ruth. Okay, so Boaz took Ruth. So I guess the literal wording is, and she became his wife. She became his wife. So Boaz married Ruth. So Boaz took Ruth and she became his wife. Okay. When they came together as husband and wife, when he made love to her and had sexual relations with her. Yep. And he went into her and he had relations with her. All these different ways of saying they got the boogie on. They got it on. They were married. The Lord enabled her to conceive and she bore a son. Rachel and Leah, they were having problems bearing sons, right? It seemed. They had to get their maidservants. Yeah, hey, sleep with my maidservant. She'll have a son for me. But God here gives her a son. Pretty cool. Then the women said to Naomi, blessed is the Lord. Naomi is Ruth's mother-in-law. Blessed is the Lord who has not failed to provide you today with a redeemer. May he become famous in Israel. Is the redeemer Boaz or is the redeemer the son? I think it's the son because the son is obviously not Naomi's son. Boaz married and slept with Ruth. Ruth had the son. But now Naomi's name, which is attached to Elimelech, will not die out. Elimelech and Naomi's name will not die out now. She's redeemed. She's been redeemed by this son. My name will now go on. It will be perpetuated. You know, my son Malin, and my kids Malin and Chillian, they died. They passed away. My husband's family line, my family line will pass away. Nope. The women said, blessed is the Lord who has not failed to provide you today with a redeemer. May the redeemer become famous in Israel. He will restore your life and be your support of your old age. So, hey, your son's going to grow up to be good and strong, and then he'll take care of you in your old age. Now, she's already pretty old, right? She's told to have kids, she thought. That's what she was like. If God were to give me a kid tonight, would you wait for them to raise? That's in chapter 1. She's like, I can't, I'm too old. Okay, so she's pretty old, but at least this kid, hopefully, can grow up and support her in her old age, right? Take care of her. He will restore your life. Oh, look over here. He will encourage you and provide for you when you're old. He will renew your life, sustain you in your old age. May he restore your youth. Because remember, she said, don't call me Naomi, call me Mara, because I'm bitter. She was really sad. Why? She lost her husband, then she lost her kids, and she got no baby to carry on her family line. She's like, I'm bitter. The Lord has acted bitterly towards me. The Lord has acted mean towards me, she said. But hey, look what the Lord did. Even though she complained against the Lord and about the Lord, no, the Lord hasn't done. The Lord's taken everything away from me. The Lord still provides for her. How awesome is that guy? That guy, the Lord. How awesome is he? Pretty good, huh? He's a good God. Blessed is the Lord who has not failed to provide you today with a redeemer. Maybe he become famous in Israel. He will restore your life and be support of your old age. For his mother is the daughter-in-law who loves you. Who is the son's mother? Ruth. Right? Ruth loves you, right? Ruth came back with Naomi. Ruth went out and was always picking grain and brought it back to Naomi to eat. Boaz says, we've heard about your good deeds that you've done for your mother-in-law. I'm sorry. Hey, listen. I'm flicking my finger on my chair and it's making... My bad. The microphone's probably picking that up and y'all are confused. Like, what is that? All right. This son, he will definitely support you. Why? Well, look at who his mother is. She was a great woman in Israel. Surely, like son, like father, like son, like mother, like daughter. There we go. No, like mother, like son. Yeah. The apple don't fall too far from the tree. Or hey, she was picking barley at the barley harvest. The barley don't fall too far from the stalks of barley. My goodness. Such a dark BJ. Okay. She is worth more to you than 7 sons. She's worth more. Hey, she can take care of you. And now she's had a son that takes care of you. She's worth more than 7 sons. She's good. So we're having a happy ending, to this rather sad starting story. Okay. Naomi took the boy, cradled him against her breast, and cared for him. Oh, she became his caregiver. Pretty cool, huh? Cradled him. Okay. The child belongs to Naomi in the sense that he now becomes a redeemer in the family, as stated in 4:14. This tender act. It's so tender. This tender act by Naomi is not necessarily adoptive and differs from the relationship in Genesis. Naomi now has a boy to replace her 2 lost boys. No, I want to read these. Oh my goodness. Well, just because the Catholic Bible says, I mean, it's true. I don't know. All right, guys, been fun, huh? Oh, hey, the neighbor women joined the celebration of sons to be born to Naomi. So there were the women, and now the neighbor women has joined. Yay, everybody's happy. Stop, share. Hey, back to grainy old BJ again. All right, guys. Glad we could discuss this. Ruth, Genesis, the Alamo, my cat's names. I mean, all sorts of stuff today you learned. I'm trying to use modern day examples and analogies to explain the stuff back then. I was trying to say, much like we know this history, but have to explain it. When you learn the Bible, you're learning history, but we need to explain it. Pretty cool, huh? We need to put ourselves back in their shoes. Oh, here's an analogy from today. That's kind of like back then, So sorry if I get you confused by today and then. Just remember, try to put yourself how they would have seen it. Otherwise, we get all sorts of weird teachings. We get all sorts of weird understandings of the Bible. So I'm glad God didn't just give us a few little one, like if he just gave us a book of Ruth and that was it, we wouldn't have. God wouldn't. Obviously, I would assume that if God gave us less, he would expect less. To that who much is given, much is expected. So I guess it's kind of cool that God gave us a lot of books and a lot of history in the Bible so we can go and study it. But if he had given us less, he expects less. Yeah. All right, guys, let's pray real quick. Dear God, as confusing as I am, please take this confusion and untangle it and apply it to our lives. Untangle it and make it understandable. Clarify it for me, Lord. You are our rock and our redeemer, the one we always hope in, and the one who loves us immensely. Thank you very much for everything. Amen. All right. See you guys in the next very basic Bible. That's my ending song. Very basic Bible. Yeah.